Today we're looking at some of the most disturbing and revealing moments in the government's immigration crackdown and the border fight over power in America. We're breaking down the violent ICE takedown of a Florida nurse who turned out to be a U.S. citizen, the postpartum mother ripped from her newborn in the NICU, and the mass arrest quota in New Orleans that city officials say guarantees innocent people will be swept up. We'll dig into the classified boat strike footage that rattled members of Congress, the MAGA figures now openly calling for women to lose the right to vote, Trump's newest pardon of a powerful insider, the collapse of DOJ's case against Letitia James, the New York Times suing the Pentagon over an unprecedented press crackdown, and the explosive revelation that Goldman Sachs' top lawyer exchanged hundreds of privileged emails with Jeffrey Epstein. This is In the Know, unredacted. Let's get into it. We're starting in Florida, where a woman wearing hospital scrubs and driving to work was violently pulled out of her car and pinned to the ground by ICE. A Miami Herald reporter captured the moment. You can hear her screaming, "I am a U.S. citizen. Please help me. This is unfair." She was terrified, begging for someone to listen, and the agents still forced her onto the pavement. Minutes later, only after they rifled through her belongings, they found her driver's license. She was exactly who she said she was. A citizen heading to her hospital shift. No arrest, no charges, no apology, just trauma. ICE later claimed she refused to cooperate, but the video shows something else entirely. A woman overwhelmed by federal agents who treated her like a criminal until paperwork proved otherwise. And what happened next in today's coverage makes it even clearer. This isn't about who you are, it's about who they decide you look like. In suburban Chicago, a 22-year-old mother recovering from a C-section was torn from her newborn, a premature baby fighting for her life in the NICU. She had preeclampsia, she was stitched, bleeding, trying to pump milk for her daughter, and yet, while she was loading the car to visit her baby, ICE surrounded her house. They interrogated her family about where they were born, demanded papers, and dragged this woman, still healing from her major abdominal surgery, into detention for 34 hours. No medical exam, no proper food, no water, no access to pump milk. Her supply dried up, she grew sick, her baby laid alone in intensive care for nearly a week. ICE did not care. It wasn't about danger, it was about the show of force. And nowhere is that show of force clearer than what's unfolding in New Orleans. DHS has set a quota of 5,000 arrests in New Orleans and surrounding parishes, a number local officials say is impossible to reach without sweeping up regular workers, moms, teens, and anyone ICE can get their hands on. Agents are posted everywhere. Unmarked trucks at gas stations, marked units outside supermarkets, stakeouts near Home Depot. Community groups are posting live warnings online just to help people avoid being detained on their way to work. The city's own data proves immigrants are not driving crime. But this crackdown isn't about crime. It's about numbers, and New Orleans is the test case for how far this administration is willing to go to get them. And just when you think this escalation couldn't get darker, members of Congress viewed the classified video at the center of the Pentagon boat strike scandal. Behind closed doors, lawmakers were shown the footage of the second strike on September 2nd, the one that killed men floating in the water after the first explosion. The admiral claimed Pete Hegseth never issued an explicit kill everyone order, but what lawmakers saw shook even seasoned national security members. Representative Jim Hyams said the video was one of the most troubling things he's ever seen. 2 men in the water, injured, powerless, unable to move, and then struck again by a U.S. missile. Senator Chris Coons said it was disturbing. Senator Mark Warner wants it released. Even hardened defense hawks walked out shaken. But Senator Tom Cotton, he saw nothing wrong. The divide isn't partisan. It's between those who believe killing shipwreck survivors is a war crime and those who didn't see a problem. And as that debate unfolds, another one is brewing, this time aimed at women's rights. For years, repeal the 19th Amendment lived in the dark corners of the internet. Today, MAGA pastors, Christian nationalists, and right-wing influencers are saying it openly. A pastor tied to Pete Hegseth said women shouldn't vote. Andrew Tate and Hannah Pearl Davis repeat it consistently. Christian nationalist writers, fringe commentators, they've stopped winking and started advocating. They know they can't repeal the 19th today. That's not the point. The point is normalization, testing the narrative, softening the ground, because once a movement believes women's rights aren't permanent, everything becomes negotiable: voting rights, bodily autonomy, participation in public life. And while they push that idea, Trump is busy using presidential power to protect the people who matter most to him. Trump pardoned Tim Lewicki, a powerful executive indicted for rigging a taxpayer-funded arena deal in Texas. His own DOJ charged him. A grand jury indicted him. Prosecutors said he cheated the public. Trump erased it with a signature. And here's the twist. Lewicki wasn't a Trump ally. He called Trump a con man. He praised Mike Pence for standing up to him. But the moment prison became a possibility, he hired Trump world attorneys, and the charges vanished. It's the same pattern. Elites with connections walk free. Immigrants, mothers, workers, and citizens pulled out of their cars, they get the full weight of the state. And while Trump uses pardons to protect allies, his DOJ just suffered a major setback in a case driven by political pressure. A federal grand jury refused to re-indict Letitia James for the second time. This comes after a judge threw out the original charges, ruling Trump's hand-picked prosecutor was unlawfully appointed. Instead of backing off, DOJ tried again, and a grand jury still said no. It's now clear this wasn't collapsing because of evidence. It was collapsing because the system kept catching the political interference behind it, and the fight between government and accountability does not stop there. The New York Times is suing Pete Hegseth and the Pentagon for implementing one of the most extreme press restrictions in modern history, after Hegseth rolled out rules so limiting that nearly every veteran Pentagon reporter surrendered their credentials. The building quietly opened its doors to influencers instead. Real journalists locked out. Trump-aligned content creators let in. The Times argues this violates the First Amendment by giving the Pentagon power to approve only friendly media. If they win, it could reshape how every administration deals with the press, not just this one. And we end today with this story raising red flags across Wall Street and Washington. Jeffrey Epstein's estate is fighting to keep 277 emails between Epstein and Goldman Sachs' top attorney, Catherine Rumler, hidden under attorney-client privilege. Court filings showed these weren't casual messages. Many involved legal strategy related to lawsuits from Epstein's victims. The emails span from 2014 to 2019, well into Epstein's controversies, and suggest Rumler may have been more involved in his legal orbit than previously known. Epstein even named her as a backup executor of his will before swapping her out at the last minute. Survivors' lawyers say the estate is stonewalling transparency. The court may soon decide whether these emails stay buried, or open a new chapter in what Epstein's network looked like behind closed doors. That's today's full breakdown. The stories shaping the country, the stories others won't connect, and the stories most people won't hear in one place. If this helped you stay informed, make sure you follow and turn on alerts so you never miss a briefing. I'll be back tomorrow with more In the Know on Redacted.